everybody, DK Guillotine here, and it's time to rank Kingdom Wave 2, ladies and gentlemen. So, Kingdom Wave 2 has come. We've got all the figures. It is now time to rank each and every single figure from Kingdom Wave 2. Now, this was an extremely strong wave of Transformers. I really enjoy basically every figure in this wave. But we, of course, do have to rank them, which means, of course, there are going to be some spots that, there are going to be some bots that are going to appear low, but in fact, it's just because the competition was very fierce. There's a lot of very good figures in this wave. So yes, please take that into account before you disagree with this ranking or whatever. I pretty much like every figure in this wave with the exception of maybe one, and we're gonna get that one out of the way right now. So without further ado, let's get into this. This is the Kingdom Wave 2 ranking, and coming in at the number 8 spot by a country mile, assuming we are discounting the repack of Earthrise RC, which we are, no repacks obviously. Number 8, pretty handily, was Core Class Megatron. I honestly kind of regret being as nice as I was to this figure in my review. This figure's kind of shit. It's got really good paint apps. I really love the paint apps on the torso. How they picked out everything with some really nice paint. But aside from it looking like a really nice G1-y Megatron, it's got nothing else going for it, basically. The transformation sucks. It's not fun at all. I don't like it at all. The robot mode looks good overall, but is very flawed. The legs are extremely floppy, and I don't like that at all, and that's not an issue on any of the other core class figures, so yeah, I don't even think Hasbro really cared for this one all that much. I do kind of like the addition of the little Megatron gun, although it barely even looks like G1 Megatron, and it's also just like, it's super hollow, and you can see like it's just not good at all. And it's a parts forming piece for the tank mode, and the tank mode is also kind of shit. I mean, the tank mode really does not look all that good. So yeah, overall this was a very easy one for me. Number 8, definitely gonna have to be Core Class Megatron. This is probably one of the weakest figures of the War for Cybertron trilogy. Coming in at the number 7 spot on this list is going to have to be Ractonite. Now, I think Ractonite is solid. I actually like him quite a bit more than Paleotrex, but once again, of course, competition fierce with this wave. Lots of great figures. From here on out, pretty much the rest of these figures are all pretty darn great in my opinion. But yeah, Ractonite is fun, but when it came to the rest of the figures, he was a pretty easy spot for number 7 for me. He's just kind of goofy overall. Like, he definitely does look a little derpy, and like, I'm not like I say every single time I review one of the break apart Transformers, like the weaponizers and the fossilizers. These are not nearly as fun for me as regular Transformers, because they have to be they're parts formers, they're total parts formers, and I'm not a big fan of parts forming. So yeah, these usually are inferior to regular Transformers for me. But I do enjoy this guy. I do think he is definitely the better of between him and Paleotrex. I do definitely think he is the better one. Very cool overall. Not really any like major flaws. His joints are fantastic. He looks cool. There's not really anything I dislike about this figure. I think he's actually very solid overall, but he is pretty easily my number 7 pick. So yeah, number 7 is going to be Ractonite. Overall, a perfectly solid weaponizer dude, but just, you know, compared to the others, just doesn't really stand out among the others. Coming in at the number 6 spot is going to surprise some people, but it is going to be Core Class Starscream, because while this is a very nice Core Class figure, and it is, like, that transformation is very fun and very brilliant. I really love it. The All mode's great. The Robot mode looks good. I can't say that I like this figure more than every other figure on this list. I just can't. I've never been a big Starscream fan. If I've ever, like, I think I've said that before, but I don't know. Starscream is just, you know, he's one of the biggest Transformer names, and it was never my favorite of the big Transformers names. But I do like this figure overall. I'm just like, I have tons of Starscreams, and this figure just, while it is a nice figure overall, I definitely do not like this one more than the other figures above this one. So that's the reason he's number 6, but he is very solid. I do like him a lot. He's easily the best of the G1 core class figures so far. He's just good. His transformation's brilliant. Both of his modes look great. There's nothing really wrong with this figure. Just for me personally, I just don't like him as much as the rest of the figures we have to rank. So, number 6, core class Starscream. Coming in at the number 5 spot on this list is going to be Inferno. Now, I think Inferno is absolutely phenomenal, and from here on out, I think pretty much all of these guys are S tier, in my opinion. But yeah, Inferno is really, really, really great, but, you know, he's just a little more boring compared to the rest of the figures left to rank. I just think he's overall kind of boring, and he is a reuse of the Earthrise grapple mode, which I'm sure a lot of people got first, so you probably already had the version of the mold as I did already, so yeah, for that reason, he's definitely just not quite as much of a standout. Had he been the first release of the mold in Kingdom, he probably actually would have been substantially higher up, but because he is a reuse of grapple, kind of already knew what to expect with this guy. He is a great figure overall, but I definitely would say I like the figures above him a little bit more. But yeah, overall a very great figure. I love the robot mode. It's very, very awesome. I like the transformation a lot. Very smooth, yet somehow very, very fun. The all mode's pretty good, although a little shoddy, but overall pretty darn good, and there's a lot of fun to be had. He comes with his weapon, his little water cannon gun. I think the head sculpt is absolutely lovely. I love the little wings on the side there, and if you get an upgrade kit and you fill in all that hollowness, it's really, really lovely. Yeah, overall a phenomenal figure. Like I said, pretty much the rest of these I think are going to be are pretty much S tier, but overall for the ranking, I definitely think Inferno is probably my least favorite of the ones that we have left, but I do still love him overall. Very, very great figure. Just competition was very fierce for the wave. So there you go. Number 5 is Inferno. Coming in at the number 4 spot on this list, I've decided is going to be Airazor. Now, Airazor is almost perfect. It's almost a perfect Airazor, but the thing I do not like about Airazor that makes me put her a little bit lower than the next one, than our next rank, is that they changed her color too drastically. I don't like what they did with her color. I really would have preferred if they had made her show accurate, if they had given her the black color that she had in the show, because that's more Airazor to me. I'm just not a fan of the color they went with for this figure. And I know that sounds kind of hypocritical because I bash people for not really, for freaking out over the Cheetor color scheme, and I guess this is kind of the same thing, but I mean, Cheetor is still yellow and blue like he was. He just is different shades and not the most accurate shades. And I mean, if you really boil it down, the argument can be made that gray is kind of just a different shade of black, but you're kind of reaching a little bit, aren't you? But overall, I do love this figure. I think she is phenomenal and by far the best version of Airazor ever, but she is also a little less fun to play with than the rest of the figures. I feel like she is really good. Her articulation is very solid, but I feel like, they definitely could have given her double jointed elbows. And I also think that her legs are a little goofy to work with because she does have these extra hinges in the bottom here for transformation. The transformation is brilliant. I really, really do like the transformation on this figure. Very fun. Maybe the most fun of all the Beast Wars figures, except for maybe one, which we'll talk about later in this video. But yeah, her transformation is very, very fun. But because of these little hinges right here, it does make her a little difficult to mess around with because these are a little bit floppy. They don't flop around when you move her, which is definitely the main test I give for floppiness. If you do that, that's kind of a deal breaker for me, but she doesn't have that. They're just a little bit messy when you actually play with her, and I haven't really found myself grabbing her off the shelf to play with her all that much, but overall she is really solid. The transformation is very fun, like I said, and I think her alt mode is super, super good. A very nice bird mode overall. I mean, to make a nice robot turn into a freaking bird, that is quite a challenge, and I think Hasbro did a very good job with this. So for that reason, I am putting her at number 4, but for me, number 4 is going to have to be the spot for her. I know a lot of people have really fallen in love with this figure. I've even heard some people say this is their favorite of Kingdom so far. Can't agree, but I do overall really like her overall. She is solid. Probably one of the best of the Beast Wars figures so far. Just really good overall, but there's just some things that they did with this figure that I wasn't the biggest fan of overall. But yeah, number 4, Airazor. Alrighty, I'm sure this is a bit of a surprise for you guys if you watch my videos, but I am giving number 3 to Huffer. Yes, I had quite a bit of negativity to say about this figure in my review, and I'm just going to tell you this straight up. I kind of despise that review. I honestly might give this guy a re-review because that review sucks ass, and I might re-review it because I have kind of fallen in love with this figure a little bit. I have found myself approaching my Transformer shelf to grab someone to fiddle around with, and I have found myself grabbing this freaking Kingdom Huffer so many times. He's very fun to play with. I really like this guy. I just think he's a lot of fun to play with. I wouldn't say he's really the overall best figure in the wave. He definitely has issues, like the fact that his truck mode is a little difficult to make look really good, although I'll show you something in just a second that I did to this figure, even outside of what I showed you in my review of the figure. And the fact that he does have the hollow shins is also something to take into account. And also, I don't think his transformation is the most smooth thing in the world, but honestly, this guy just is really fun to mess around with. This guy's kind of in the same vein as like Micromasters for me. But Micromasters, I love them because I can just mess around with them and transform them back and forth and just have an absolute blast with them. And this guy's kind of the same way for me, honestly. He's just very fun to flip back and forth. There's a lot of things I like about this guy, and I really like the weapons they gave him as well. I like the shield and I like the gun. You can get a lot of really cool poses out of this guy. It's really fun overall, and I really like how they integrated the accessories into the vehicle mode. It's very clever and very cool overall. So yeah, I have found myself kind of falling in love with this Kingdom Huffer. I might give this guy a re-review because I fucking hate that review I made for him. That review sucks. Please don't watch it. So yeah, that might be coming, a re-review of Kingdom Huffer, because I kind of love this guy now. So yeah, I think he's really awesome. I'm bumping his grade up to an S tier, by the way, definitely. I think he's just really sweet. I like this figure a lot now. He's definitely one of the WFC Trilogy figures that really had to grow on me, but now that he has, similar to Warpath actually, now that he has, I really love him. So yeah, number 3 is Kingdom Huffer. And with that, we are down to the final 2. Now, these were very difficult to pick, the 1 and 2. And if I'm being honest, both of these are number 1. But obviously, the ranking has to be made. I'm not going to cop out and put them both at number 1. We're going to rank them, and here is the ranking I have come up with. So, number 2 is going to have to be Ultra Magnus. Now, this is one of my favorite Transformer figures of all time. I love this figure so effing much. He is so great. But I did have to consider some things when making this list. I really did want to say he was number 1 because I do think he's my favorite of the wave. But I had to think about a couple things with this guy. One, he's not the first version of the mold. This mold was originally debuted in Siege, so a lot of people would probably consider this figure more of a Siege figure overall, which means it wouldn't really make sense to make him the number 1 of a Kingdom wave. So I feel like that was one reason. And another reason is there are some things about this figure that are just a little bit annoying, like the fact that the vehicle mode, while I overall love the vehicle mode, it is a little bit difficult to kind of completely excuse it because it does just kind of have the arms hanging off of the back of the cab, but it is super fun, and I love the transformation on the figure. But once again, all that kind of boils down to it originally being a Siege figure, which means I just don't think it would feel right to put this as number 1 for a Kingdom ranking. That being said, I effing love this figure. This is currently one of my favorite figures at the War for Cybertron Trilogy. He is so unbelievably fun. I love the robot mode. I love the individual core white Optimus Prime. I think that is such a fun figure overall. And I love the vehicle mode. The vehicle mode is so fun. I love how sturdily this mold locks together. It's just very freaking cool overall. He's got everything for me. I love the way he looks. He really captures G1 Ultra Magnus for me, especially that dynamite head sculpt and that chest piece, just so wonderful. I love the fact that Hasbro didn't cop out with the chest piece and make it all clear plastic. They only made that one section clear plastic. I would recommend if you want to, I do have a full video of all the figures from this ranking on my channel. If you'd like to, I'll put a link to my playlist in the description down below. But I really love that they did only give him the clear plastic for the windows and they didn't just mold the whole thing out of clear plastic. That was just such a nice touch to make sure he's very solid and sturdy overall. And there is also this that I had to take into account. These legs are a little bit loose, probably from mold degradation, because they have used this mold a couple times now. Because there was the Siege Ultra Magnus, there was Galaxy Upgrade Optimus Prime, and then there was this one. So yeah, there is definitely some mold degradation with the legs, but definitely not a deal breaker in the slightest. I absolutely love this figure. Like I said, he is probably my favorite of the Kingdom Wave 2, but it just didn't feel right to really put him at number 1. So number 2 is Ultra Magnus, but number 1, obviously, if you use the process of elimination, you know who it is. It's Dinobot. Dinobot is maybe my favorite of the Beast Wars figures so far. It is such a phenomenal figure. I love this Dinobot. Honestly, I really just love this figure. He is awesome. He really does capture all the things you really need him to capture about the show model. They definitely did change some things about him. He definitely doesn't look perfect. He definitely doesn't look like he just walked out of the screen like most of the figures in the WFC trilogy, but he does look almost perfect. He does look almost to that regard, but the fact that the torso is just kind of broken up like that is overall kind of distracting. His legs are arms are just a little too long, and I think they're a little too skinny as well. And there is this issue with the torso being a little wobbly, but those are really the only complaints I have with this figure overall. Overall, I think he is a smash hit of a Dinobot. I love everything they've done with this guy. First of all, he definitely captures the majority of the things you would want out of Dinobot. He's got the head sculpt absolutely down. That head sculpt is pure dynamite. I love it. I love that they included the sword and the spinny shield. That is just absolutely awesome. And I love the way they executed these overall. I really don't even care that these are parts for me because they're not even mandatory. You can absolutely transform these guys without even transform this guy back and forth without even taking those off. So it's not even mandatory parts for me, which is just absolutely awesome. And they make such great accessories. I just love the way he looks with both of these, man. It just looks so darn awesome. The transformation is brilliant. One of my absolute favorites of the WFC trilogy. So effing fun overall. I love everything about the transformation. Very fun overall. And I really like the dinosaur mode. It's really fun to play with. It looks kind of derpy overall, but I honestly love it. It holds together beautifully. Everything locks together in the Dino mode, and I love the alt mode overall. So yeah, for me, this is a near perfect Dinobot. I absolutely love him, and he is definitely one of my absolute favorites of Kingdom so far. I love this, and I will also throw this in here. Yes, of course, I did see the reveal of the new Amazon set that was revealed with Earth Mode Mirage and the Maximal Grimlock, and yes, I pre-ordered it because the second I saw the Earth Mode Mirage, I was like, yep, I'm pre-ordering that because they totally effed over my orders with the Earthrise Amazon exclusive 2-packs. I didn't get either of them because they both got canceled on me because Amazon didn't have enough to ship to all the pre-orders. So yeah, that was huge. That pissed me off. So as soon as I saw that Earth Mode Mirage, I immediately put a pre-order down on that to make sure I could get it. And then I started looking at the Maximal Grimlock and realized that it actually looked freaking awesome. So yeah, I'm super stoked for that 2-pack later on in the year. But yeah, this was, I really did, even though I kind of wanted to put Ultra Magnus at number 1 because he is probably my favorite of the wave, this was a pretty easy thing. When I was thinking about the ranking, he was a pretty easy pick for number 1 for me. So there you go. Number 1, best figure of Kingdom Wave 2, by far the absolute must-have figure of Kingdom Wave 2, definitely gonna have to be Dinobot. Just a really freaking phenomenal figure, and a dream come true for people like me who really loved this character in Beast Wars, but just cannot afford to drop the $400 that they want for the freaking masterpiece. So yeah, I love this figure. So there you go. There is my Kingdom Wave 2 ranking, everybody. Let me know in the comment section down below, what did you think of the ranking? Let me know. If you disagree with the ranking, leave your rankings down below. I'd love to know what you think overall. You know, obviously support your thing, especially if you put Kingdom Megatron as anything other than the bottom tier, because yeah, he's like the only figure in Kingdom so far that I've just been like, eh. I really do regret being as nice to that figure as I was in that review. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. Obviously, I'll do this when Kingdom Wave 3 comes out as well. We'll do this for every wave that comes out from here on out, assuming I get the whole wave, which I almost certainly will. So yeah, there you have that. So there you go. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it. And this is DK Guillotine, signing out.